We may very well be the first website on the internet where you could actually book with somebody else and pay them directly. And Brian, there's a word you never use in your website. And I said, what's that word? He said, the word is friendship. The 5-star check-in experience is they give you the address, you get to the house, you knock on the door, and they're there. And they open the door and they let you in the house.
Hey, welcome everybody to our channel. We're about lifestyle entrepreneurship, so it's about living the life and also making 6-figure income, multiple 6-figure income, traveling the world as well. Today I'm in beautiful Vietnam. Check it out, lovely Vietnam. And today, one of my heroes, Brian Chesky, I'm going to talk about the top 7 rules to success. So stay tuned. My first rule of success is just do it.
We may very well be the first website on the internet where you could actually book with somebody else and pay them directly. In other words, there was eBay, and eBay used PayPal, but you didn't feel there was checks, exactly. And there wasn't a lot of legacy there, you know, because there was eBay and Etsy, and they were both before us, and Etsy used PayPal, and both of them you would book and it would send you on a PayPal gateway. And we wanted to feel like booking a hotel. You never leave Airbnb. We would hold, collect, remit the money. And so, whereas they were like paying direct and they would take a cut, and there was 2 different payments. So and that was kind of a crazy idea. It almost scared us. It seemed insane that like you would actually be able to pay somebody else and be able to book something with them, and you would get a reputation system. We decided, let's just do it. And at the time, we're like, this is a little too crazy. It's a little too scary. I don't know if we're allowed to do this. I'm not sure if it will work. We decided to do it anyway. And and so then in the summer of 2008, we ended up basically designing the final version of the product. So we designed this product where you could book someone's home anywhere in the world. We had a rule, 3 clicks to the book it button, because there were so many clicks and so many different ways to get a home that it was just too hard. And I remember hearing the story of when Steve Jobs developed the iPod. No matter where he was in his iPod, he wanted to make sure he was always 3 clicks from a song. And we said, well, you should always be 3 clicks from being able to have a paid booking. And so we created this, basically a homepage with a search bar, listings, the home, and that's exactly the product as you see it today, with reviews, payment system, and customer service. And we basically ended up landing on that.
Just like Nike, just do it, guys. Whatever you're thinking about doing, just do it. Okay, life is short, so just do it, guys. You don't have that much time. If you wait for too long, time will flash you by. And then do it while you're young. You know, while you're young, you have more energy, you have more enthusiasm, you have more clear-minded thinking. So that's why just do it. It's better to just do it, readjust, and then fix it, readjust, and then go in the right direction than not doing anything at all. All right, next rule is have a mission, guys.
In August, we had on a peak night 1 million people, more than the population of San Francisco, staying in a home around the world in 180 countries. And one of the stories I heard was this host, his name is Sebastian, and he says to me, Brian, there's a word you never use in your website. And I said, what's that word? He said, that word is friendship. He said, 6 months ago, the London riots, a couple years ago, broke out outside my home. And the next day, my mom called me to make sure I was okay. He said, here's the interesting thing. Between the time the riots broke out and the time my mom called me was a 24-hour period of time. And in that period of time, he said, 7 of my previous Airbnb guests called me just to make sure I was okay. I wonder how many people would have called the hotel, by the way. But the point is that Airbnb is not about spaces. And it's very easy to come to our website and you see a couple million spaces, but it's really more about the people. And our mission is to provide this feeling not of space, but belonging. And we belong at home, we belong at our work sometimes, but we want you to be able to belong anywhere in the world in 34,000 cities.
Have a mission in life. Don't just, shoot aimlessly. No, you want to be like a sniper, okay? You want to point in the right direction and readjust along the way. Just like, an airplane. When you go to a destination, it will have that 10 destination. It has a map for everything, but it will readjust along the way because of turbulence, of flight, of a lot of different factors. But you gotta have the same mission in your mind. Next one is chase your dreams.
I got to RISD, art school, and everyone was like creating their own projects. And I had a teacher who said, you're a designer. Everything around you is designed by other designers. You can design the world you live in. I met Joe, my co-founder, and both of us had this dream that we were gonna do something that would make an impact in the world. And we didn't even know what that meant. I got this job at an industrial design firm in Los Angeles that had health insurance. My life felt a little bit like I was in a car. And the road in front, it's like you look out of a car, and the road in front of you looks exactly like the road behind you. And you're like, that's your life. And something about that really terrified me. Joe had been calling me up to try to get me to start a company, and then one day I go into work and I quit my job. I'm living in a house in Los Angeles with 3 friends, and I tell them I'm leaving Los Angeles. And I pack everything in the back of an old Honda Civic, a foam mattress, $1,000 in the bank account, hardly any savings or any money. I have to pursue the dreams. I'd rather fail doing something I love than always wonder what could have been. And so that one weekend, it's October 2007, I drive to San Francisco, and that was the beginning of Airbnb.
Guys, chase your dreams. Life is short enough, so chase your dreams. Your dreams is so important. The number one dream is that you are health, wealth, and family. That's the biggest thing. I had a dream, take my wife, travel around the world, making multiple 6-figure income. That's what we do. And how we do it is thanks to Brian Chesky, through Airbnb, and through a lot of corporate housing, a lot of hard work as well. But check out one of my courses as well for that. But it enabled me to travel around the world and making multiple 6-figure income just through Airbnb and corporate housing. Next one is ask for feedback, guys.
I came to the Valley. I did not know much about Silicon Valley. In fact, somebody told me there are these people called angels, and I know they meant angel investors. I think a key thing to learning is having mentors, and a key thing to having mentors is being shameless. In other words, shameless people learn really quickly and are successful. Most people are just afraid to ask people for help. And so Joe, Nate, and I were shameless about asking people for feedback, whether it was just our investors or meeting famous entrepreneurs like Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, who ended up becoming an investor, or Warren Buffett. You seek out people, and most people are really nice, and they'll help you if they can.
Ask for feedback. Your customer is your most valuable, important people. So your customer will tell you what to expect, how to change things, so that way you can improve. And the only way to know is to ask for the feedback, ask for the survey. Next one is persevere, guys. Persevere.
Get to San Francisco. I had a rent check of $1,150, and I have $1,000 at the bank, and I can't pay rent, let alone live in San Francisco. It's very expensive. And Joe had the same problem. The first weekend we were there, this international design conference is coming to San Francisco, and all the hotels they're recommending are sold out. We said, well, what if we could just turn our house into a bed and breakfast for the design conference? I mean, people need housing. We certainly need money. We didn't have any beds. I just moved up there. And Joe said, don't worry, I have 3 air mattresses. And we called it not the bed and breakfast, but the air bed and breakfast. We built this website, and we ended up having 3 people stay with us. We made enough money to make our rent, but we also made some deep friends. And that was the very beginning of something that we saw. Many people told me it was the worst idea they've ever heard of. It was months and months and months of people trying to talk us out of our idea. And so we had to continue to think, like, look at the mountaintop and not worry and not look down.
You will always have obstacles along the ways. You will always encounter things along the way. There's no easy ride unless it's not going to be a good one. Because all the tough rides will give you the persistence, the courage, the bravery to face everything, and the character to become who you were born to be. So don't be afraid, guys. Just push on until you achieve. All right, guys, always be a startup.
Paul Graham, I used to
he was our first investor. And I used to worry about all these random things like competitors, kind of cities, all the stuff. And he said something to me I'll never forget. He said, Brian, startups die of suicide, not homicide. All great companies that had a downfall, they died of self-inflicted wounds. So what are those self-inflicted wounds?
That's a horrible thing to say.
I know.
But anyway.
But it's really, the key thing is about like, there's this thing that like, you're a small company and you exist because no one else, especially big companies, couldn't do what you could do as a small, nimble company. Pablo Picasso is saying, the older you get, the stronger the wind gets. It's always in your face. It's like small companies become big companies and sometimes become really bureaucratic. And the culture gets lost, people leave the company. That is something, it's not unique to Airbnb, but that's a thing that we have to worry about, and I'm deeply paranoid about that. I want to make sure that we're always a startup, maybe the world's biggest startup, but you stay there.
So you're scared of yourself.
You have to be afraid of what you might become if you're not if you relax, that's for sure.
Always be hungry, always be, stay hungry, stay foolish is what Steve Jobs says. But, always feel like a startup, so that way you always work harder and push harder and go to the next level, okay? Next one is do more than expected, guys.
When we design products, we imagine, okay, this is what customers expect. They expect to have a 5-star experience. And then we basically ask the intellectual question. So let's take airport pickup, for example. What's a 5-star like check-in experience on Airbnb? The 5-star check-in experience is they give you the address, you get to the house, you knock on the door, and they're there. And they open the door and they let you in the house. And that's 5-star. And anything worse than that, you start to leave like 4 stars as you call them. They're like 5 minutes away, and you'll probably leave a 4-star. And like 1 star is obviously like they never showed up. So the bar is kind of low, like you knock on the door and they open the door. That's a really low bar. So we ask, well, what's a 6-star? Well, a 6-star is they probably pick you up at the airport. So you don't knock on their door, they actually pick you up at the airport. So what's a 7-star review? You can actually play, it's kind of fun. Well, 7 stars, they don't pick at the airport, they send a limousine, and you open the limousine door, and they know that you like, I don't know, Pringles. That was a weird example. This is like improv, so we're rolling with it. So there's Pringles there, and there's like coconut water, and they know you are into surfing, and there's some surfing magazine, even when you're in San Francisco, you're not gonna surf, that's fine. And so that's a 7-star. So what's an 8-star pickup? Well, an 8-star check-in is, there's a you get to the airport and they're like we're coming, and they're like, where are you? And all of a sudden you see like a giant elephant, and an elephant is walking by the gate, the terminal, and there's a parade in your honor. You get on top of the elephant and you are paraded away. And you said, well, what's a 9-star check-in? If that's an 8-star check-in, how do we get to 9 stars? A 9-star check-in is you get off the plane. And you don't even, the moment you step off the plane, there are 5,000 screaming 13-year-old women and boys, and they're holding signs. I call it the Beatles check-in. It's the Beatles in 1964 coming to America, and they're just cheering for you, screaming for you, and they follow you, and they do a press conference in the front yard of your Airbnb. And so then what's a 10-star check-in? Well, I can go to 30, but I won't, because it'll be a long day. And the 10-star is you get to the airport, and there's a little card, and it's got your name on it, and you're like, great, there's my ride, but you realize the person dressed in the limo suit is Elon Musk, and he just takes you to space. And so I've exaggerated to make a point. Usually we don't go all the way to 10, but the whole point is that like, if what you need to do is just find 100 people to love you, then it's very easy to take for granted. The 5-star is what people expect, but to build something people love, you almost need to do something more than they expect. And so, like, every moment is an opportunity to do something slightly more than people expect. And we play this out, you go to like all the way to 10. Okay, now we're not gonna do all that, but like maybe suddenly 6 stars doesn't seem so bad. Like now we should have a service, airport pickup or something like that. And so we do this about almost every frame of the experience. And this also can apply to almost anything, office design or like how you hire people. Like, we storyboard end-to-end the interviewing experience.
People always expect, just the level of service, customer service, depending on your level of performance, how you go above and beyond the expectations. So you can go above and beyond expectations, the customer will always come back to you, give you 5 stars, review, just like Airbnb, just like the airlines, everything like that. So always go above and beyond everything you do, and you will do great in life, no matter what, okay? All right, the 3 questions, guys. How can you just do it and don't worry about what anybody else thinks? Number 2 questions, what is your mission in life and how can you achieve it? And number 3 questions, how can you go above and beyond and do more than expected? Write them down, comment down below. It will change your life, I promise you.
We tried to raise $150,000 and sell 10% of the company. That would have been an amazing deal. And we got introduced to more than a dozen investors. Most of the investors we got introduced to didn't even return our phone calls or emails. A few of them wrote back and say, this is not something we're interested in. And the very few that met us did not give us money. We're air, bed, and breakfast. The air beds aren't working, maybe the breakfast will work. So we decided, let's sell collectible breakfast cereal. Obama O's, the breakfast of change. And then we also came up with a John McCain themed cereal. We ended up making 1,000 boxes of cereal. We sold them for $40 a box, and we made almost $30,000. And this is how we funded the company. Before that, we were funding the company on credit cards. I don't know if you know those binders you put baseball cards in, kids with baseball cards. We put credit cards in those. We had sleeves of credit cards. I would go to sleep and I'd wake up kind of like, and my heart would be pounding. And I'd be like, oh my God, like, how did I get myself in this situation? I have no money. Like, we launched a year ago, we still have no customers, and people don't like the idea, and what are we gonna do? Like, now what? I kept saying, now what? And like, when is this gonna happen? And then you get the courage over the course of the day. And you'd find a new plan, and you'd get through the day, and you go to sleep confident. You're like, you know what? It's gonna be fine. And tomorrow's a new day. And you go to sleep, and you wake up, and you're like, oh my God, and then your heart starts pounding again. We had launched 3 times. We launched, no one used it, we launched again. And a year later, we have almost no customers, tons of credit card debt, and every investor we knew said no. Many people have asked me why. Well, why didn't you lose hope at that point? And I guess I just believed in the idea. And we believed that if people could experience what we'd experienced, then this would be an idea that would spread. And they just needed to experience it and would just take more time.